Given a rectangle with a uniform border around it of width x. So I have a border drawn around this rectangle, and the thickness of that border on all sides is the thickness x, the width x. And given that the area of the inner rectangle, the smaller inner rectangle, is 1,008 inches squared, find the width of the border. So I've drawn this, and you see that the bottom of the larger rectangle is 40 inches, and so that's the length equals 40 inches, and the width equals 32 inches. Find the width of the border. Okay, this is a little complicated. What do we know? What do we know? Well, they told us something about the area of the inner rectangle. A sub inner, I-N-N-E-R, is equal to 1,008. We know that the formula for the area of a rectangle is equal to the length times the width. We're talking about the inner rectangle, not the outer rectangle. We know the length and width of the outer rectangle. We need to consider the length and the width of the inner, smaller rectangle. So we know that the length, L-E-N-G-T-H, times the width, W-I-D-T-H, is going to be equal to 1,008. So what is the length of the inner rectangle? Well, you got to consider that that border is thickness x. So if it's thickness x, the length of the inner rectangle is that entire 40 minus x on the left and minus x on the right. So it's 40 minus 2 times x. See the x's? I'll label them here. The thickness all the way around is x. And then the width is not 32. The inner rectangle width is the 32 minus the x on the top and the x on the bottom. So it's 32 minus 2 times x. That's what equals 1,008. Okay, so let's solve this equation for x. We've got 40 minus 2x in the first parenthesis times 32 minus 2x in the second parenthesis equals the area 1,008. Let's solve this equation for x. First, we're going to get rid of the parentheses by foiling 1,280 minus 80x minus 64x, I'm just foiling, plus 4x squared equals 1,008. Okay, so the numbers are big, but I just foiled first times first, outer times outer, inner times inner, last times last, and brought down the equal sign, brought down the right side 1,008. Okay, we have a second degree equation here. Let's move everything on one side, the other side 0. And we'll move it to the side that makes the squared dude positive. That way it's easier to work with. 272. I forgot the 272 is because it was so hard I had to come back with my calculator. Let's see. 272 minus 144x plus 4x squared is equal to 0. Now just move things around so you have the 4x squared minus 144x plus 272 equals 0. Now I have it in descending powers of x, and I'm ready to factor. Okay, look at the left side, the non-zero side. They have a common factor. All three terms have a common factor of 4, so I'm going to factor out the greatest common factor first. We always do that first. 4 times, x squared minus 36x, because 36 times 4 is 144, plus 68, because 68 times 4 is 272. Bring down the equal sign and bring down the 0. Okay, now bring down the 4. Don't lose that 4. We're going to factor by guessing. 2 parentheses. The first parenthesis is the first term in each parenthesis is going to be the x, because x times x is x squared. And then in the second term, I'm going to have the minus 34 in the second parenthesis and the minus 2 in the next one, because negative 34 times negative 2 is a positive 68, and the product of the outers plus the product of the inners gives me negative 36x in the middle. Okay, so we're done factoring. Let's set each of our factors equal to 0. Even the 4. 4 equals 0, that's nonsense. That's nonsense. 4 is never equal to 0, so just throw that away. Union that together with x minus 34 equals 0, and union that together with x minus 2 equals 0. So we set each of our factors equal to 0. Okay, now, solving this gives us x equals 34 inches, and the other one gives us x equals 2 inches. Now, we cannot have two answers. I'm not expecting two answers here because one of these answers makes no sense at all. X equals 34. Now, what was X? X is that little tiny border that you see there. How could the border equal 34 inches when the outer rectangle has a width of 32 inches? Are you telling me that we are going to add 34x distance plus 2 times 34 to some number to get 32? That's impossible. So that's just a non-physical answer. This is physically impossible because it means that the border is larger than the outer width 32 inches. And for that reason, we have to discard this physically impossible solution, x equals 34, and it leaves x equals 2 inches. The border is 2 inches wide. And we're finished.